Good evening. It's time for Crossfire. Tonight, that by-election special that KTN News has been on for the past several days with the campaigns, especially in the western part of Kenya, Matungu and Kabuchai by-elections, and as well in Nakuru County. We saw earlier today the London and Hell's Gate by-elections, amongst others. Before I introduce my guests, for many around different parts of the country wondering why are these elections, by-elections, mini polls so important, being covered so widely and extensively by the media. Just a quick run, especially with what we witnessed earlier today. If you've watched our coverage earlier today, during the day, the scenes from the London ward by-election, we just showed you some of the provisional results. It is an election that's pitting pretty much President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy Raila Odinga, owing by the candidates that are in this election. We'll put up those graphics for me. So the candidate for Jubilee, Francis Njoroge, Anthony Nzuki Wachira, who is the UDA candidate, a party affiliated to the deputy president. We have seen their men on the ground and women, of course, heavily in campaigns. And even tonight, they're at the Tarling Center watching these elections closely. So by-election, sorry for that typo, they're definitely a race that it boils down to that bigger picture. And when you go to Matungu, the by-elections there, you have three candidates who are being viewed as front runners, and this have Raila Odinga, ODM. Their candidate there is where he has been Member of Parliament consecutively 3 times before. Peter Nabulindo of ANC, Mudavadi as well, seeking to take this seat that the former Member of Parliament, the late Murunga, he was the one who held that seat and was from the ANC party. So ANC seeking to reclaim it, and Alex of UDA, again a party affiliated to the deputy president. Last but not least, that we'll focus on tonight is Kabuchai. Again, UDA, Ford Kenya squaring it out there. And definitely the matrix of all of this is part of our conversation, but also the bigger political landscape and picture and what it all means. So my guest this evening, I have on my extreme left, Washington, Mark Odingo, and in the middle is David Makali. They both are political strategists. Gentlemen, welcome to Crossfire. We're happy to have you here. I'll begin with you, Mark Odingo. Just let's look back to today. I mean, what a day. Some of the scenes witnessed a former cabinet secretary, a minister slapping an IEBC official, all kinds of scenes, tear gas, confrontations, violence, allegations of bribery. What do you make of all of this in light of where we stand as a nation at this time?
Thank you very much, Sophia, for having me. I'm concerned, I think, from very early in the morning, especially seeing that we are, 18 months to the next election. And tempers are flaring. You know, there was money being distributed. Yes. People were fighting. We are not so sure whether, at some point, we weren't sure whether cops were maintaining law and order or they were contributing to the disorder that we saw. I don't know what to say about Echesa because, I mean, he really should know better. I mean, Echesa has been in politics for a long time.
Should know better, hadn't we seen worse?
No, I mean, the holy grail of elections is not to touch election officials. Yeah, I mean, you do a lot of things. Candidates will fight, their supporters will fight, but nobody touches election officials because that is the one thing that you don't do. Even organized crime don't attack police officers. So you don't touch election officials. Unfortunately, it is something that has happened before, and we let it slide. Yeah, I remember Alice Wahome beat up an election official in 2017, and I mean, it didn't really go anywhere. So I think this is one of those opportunities that our judicial system should utilize, our criminal justice system should utilize to get rid of this. I mean, if you can't protect election officials as neutral arbiters in an election, then we are really doing very bad. But in terms of the violence that we witnessed today and that we've witnessed before, the concern is that we are building too much tension so long to elections, because I'm imagining what happens for the next 18 months. Because after this, we have BBI, a possible referendum in June. Then, of course, after that is high-octane politics. So for me, and especially for someone who's worked in conflict, this is worrying, especially coming from metropolitan areas like Nakuru, where we've seen significant violence before. It is not something that we should take lightly. And I wish that politicians would realize that this country will be teetering on the brink should we continue with this kind of politics.
Yeah, teetering on the brink, sentiment many would relate with. But Makali, the politicians don't appear to care. For them, it's their interest and it's high stakes, and it's about sending a message that either I want to get new ground, defend my ground, or at least make some steps forward.
Yes. I mean, the quest for power really has become really bare-knuckled and unscrupulous, if I may say so. Yeah. And the reason is because we invested so much in political positions in this country that benefits accrue to you.
Apologies, David. I understand your microphone has a little bit of a challenge. We'll come back to you on that. And we'll keep going as well to the ground to have a look at what's happening in London by-election, that ward. But I take you first to Kabuchai. Let's see what's happening there, where you have UDA facing off with Ford Kenya, the two leading horses as they have been described. So those are the numbers on your screen right now, just the provisional results that are trickling in. So we will keep you posted on what is transpiring down there in Kabuchai by-election, which is in, the tallying center, I beg your pardon, it's in Bungoma County, and those provisional results are coming in. So we will keep you posted on that. David, you were saying, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying that in this country, I think we need to divest the power and interests that we vested in political positions. That is why people think that for you to have your way or to get your things done, you must hold political power. Which is a challenge that this country must address immediately. Right. But I'm not seeing it being addressed if you look at, for example, the ongoing efforts to change our political structures through BBI and so forth. There is additional power being pushed into political positions. And therefore, everybody in the whole country thinking that you got to be there for your matters to be right. Yeah. And so we see it in this politics that's going on right now, the elections. People think that you must wrest power for you to be safe or to secure your interests. That we need to bring down. But also, I mean, it also calls into question the institutions of governance that hold this state together. The attacks on the electoral, on the IEBC official, right, are an expression of the lack of confidence in the institutions we are using to hold us together. But also it raises questions about the conduct of those officials or those institutions. The IBC should be above reproach from political players. You need to have confidence in that institution. As happened in the US, you could see people saying, whatever happens, we trust those institutions to deliver the will of the people. Do we have that confidence in this country? And my view is that is why people are suspicious of anybody, suspicious of the institutions of security. For example, the police. I'm not sure they played a neutral role, or they're playing a neutral role in this politics. Yeah. And that is even further denting their place and our respect for them in terms of what role they're supposed to play in securing everybody and being non-partisan. Yeah. So everything seems to be in disarray. And as we move to the next full-fledged political contest, we really must sort out these things quickly. Otherwise, 2022 will be bad. Will be
bad. And it's the timing of this all, Makodingo, in light of you having a general election coming, and it's a succession election. So there's all of these people jostling to really build their political capital ahead of that time. But how is it that somehow, as you both have talked about, if the police were perceived not to be neutral in some of these instances, and all of these things, and that largely at the end of the day will not see accountability, it will almost be swept under the carpet. Dangerous terrain for us to take, isn't it?
No, it is. And election-related violence is one of those things that we really need to get a grip on. I mean, people can't be getting beaten, violence meted on innocent Kenyans, going about their business normally. Every election period, and we let it go. I mean, it's one of those things that we need to sort. And I was hoping, and there's still time, I mean, it may not be in the constitutional amendment bill, but we can still do something to strengthen the IBC, the election laws that we have. I know there's quite a bit of change in terms of punishing violence and everything else. But our courts need to be more swift. Our security agencies need to be more vigilant, assuming that they are actually neutral. Because also, what we have seen over the years is that security agencies or security people imagining what their bosses would want, go ahead and then commit violence by themselves in an effort to please who they think their bosses are and who they think their bosses are supporting.
Yeah.
But we can't go there. We've been here before many times, and every time it has led to loss of life.
And we appear not to learn.
And we appear not to learn. What I would want to see, and I would call on the IG and DCI and everybody else that is involved to actually be firm. Yeah, punish everyone who was involved. I mean, the cases like the one for Echesa need to be taken to court tomorrow. Tomorrow is a Friday. He needs to be found and taken to court tomorrow, and charged, and probably, kept there over the weekend for him to come to terms with the things that he did. But there has to be a level we reach as a country where it is not okay for people to fight. That it is fine for people to line up, wait for their turn to vote, votes are counted, and a winner is declared, and everybody accepts the results.
Yeah. Let's begin with London ward by-election. I mean, a ward election and with respect, but the kind of energy, the kind of confrontation, the high intensity, even campaigns and delegations we've seen unleashed in that part of the country, they must be reeling with excitement of, wow, we really are that ward in this country. But what do the politics that stand out outside of what we've witnessed for you?
I think the intensity of the contest in London ward is a reflection is a reflection of the bigger political contest in the country. That's a small ward, significant, of course, in local terms, but not nationally. But the by-election has elevated it to a national significance because it is symbolic of the future. I mean, everybody wants to demonstrate that this is our strength going forward. So it's being used as to gauge the strengths of the various political factions and players. And for UDA, I think this was definitive. I don't expect they're going to win anything else, but having won London ward. You
think they'll win? They're ahead in this.
I think that's almost foregone that they're going to take London ward. And for them it's symbolic to show that we have arrived and now we are political players in a big way. Of course, having supported a candidate who wasn't there, in Msambweni, this is going to be their first test of electoral victory, so to speak, as a unit which has been assembled. Also, it communicates a serious thing within Jubilee. I mean, we have not seen the participation of the Deputy President physically visiting any of these by-election contests. He didn't campaign directly, but his troops were there. And the reason he doesn't want to show his face is because he's bound by, the political optics to be seen to be with the President and not to be seen to be with the UDA. But it's beyond any hiding that his troops are at work. And so this victory is communicating something to the other side of Jubilee. So there's victory and there is a lot of value laden in this small by-election.
And they choose these by-elections to really just weigh their muscle, be like, this is us coming through.
For UDA, or for what I call Jubilee in opposition, which other people generally call Tanga, if I was their strategist, I would have played London exactly the way they have, and in every other election. I don't think London was important for them, especially for Susan, to claim a might and proclaim it and show a worth in Nakuru. And London was interesting because the dynamics in London are almost similar to the dynamics in Oroma Ward in Uasin Gishu, which strangely, which Jubilee is winning with a big margin. But being a metropolitan, a cosmopolitan area, and an area that has everyone, I mean, the local MP, I think, is Kisii. And he swore that he would kill himself if the Jubilee candidate didn't win. But for me, what worries me out of London is not the election result. I mean, that was fairly foreseeable. It is the fact that in such a cosmopolitan area that has witnessed violence before, especially in 2007, 2008, that we would allow the level of violence we saw today. I mean, people being chased, roughed up, claims and counter-claims of bribery, women being taken advantage of by the guys who are rioting or doing whatever it is. But it's a win. For UDA, it's a win. I mean, their first win is probably going to be...
Msambweni?
Musambeni was not UDA. I mean, there was not UDA then.
But it was them behind them.
Not really. Musambeni was very different dynamics. Salim Vuria, the governor of Kwale, is actually very popular, even on the ground. He's done quite tremendous work on the ground.
They just aligned themselves with.
So and given that he's a DP person, but also there was local politics of the guy, the ODM candidate had been a councillor before, and he had even to Kana guys from Bara, like the locals, the us now. I mean, it was a hard sell. So that was just a miscalculation by ODM. But the London ward is well deserved for you.
Nakuru is a very critical county.
Yeah, that's where they exchanged the caps, I remember, exactly. In 2012, was it?
And whoever controls Nakuru traditionally is like the entry point into Rift Valley, but also the ethnic combination of Nakuru means a lot, because it will also determine who becomes governor, who becomes senator, and so forth. All those things come into there. So whoever takes lead in Nakuru has taken something ahead of the others in between the Jubilee factions, in my view.
Yeah.
But we must ask, really, did it have to be that violent? And in my view, who provoked the violence? That's a matter that needs to be really canvassed. I don't think... anyway, the less said about it, the better. But the conduct of the police in security agencies in this particular ward leaves a lot to be desired.
The thing, I usually hesitate to make political declarations based on by-election results. Because historically, by-elections are notorious for low voter turnout.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, especially in an urban center where people actually go to work, and on a weekday like this. So, in a by-election, especially when you have popular candidates across board, anyone can win. So it should never be a surprise that someone won. Yeah, but I think they put quite a bit of effort. I mean, and quite a bit of money in London, as we saw. So give them their due.
Give them their due. But it's interesting for me that we keep talking about UDA, and we're having those partial, if you like, provisional results coming in for Kabuchai, Majimbo, Kalasinga, Ford Kenya, I beg your pardon. And those the 13 out of 123 polling stations, polling centers, and Evans Kakai of UDA 1,060. Provisional results from Kabuchai. And then leading candidates there in Kabuchai. Then we have Matungu coming up next. In Matungu, we have Peter Nabulindo, ANC candidate, 275. Where David Aoko, 278. Early days, definitely, but important to note right now, 462. Lanya Alex Wamukoya is there. And he is a UDA candidate, Bernard Wakoli, with 33 votes. And this is just reporting 4 polling stations out of 116. So extremely early there in Matungu by-election. We'll keep looking at those figures as they come in. So are you surprised that at 10:24, this is 4 polling stations counting? Just reporting because
I think because there
are delays.
It's an unreasonable delay because first voter turnout wasn't very high.
Yes.
It's a single ballot election.
Yes.
You'll expect that within an hour the result has been, the votes have been counted and relayed. Maybe it's a network problem with IBC.
Right.
But from what we are hearing from the guys observing and the ones on the ground, Matungu seems to be going to ANC, Kabuchai seems to be going to Fort Kenya. I know David doesn't think so,
I don't agree.
Matungu will probably go to ANC. I know he thinks it will be an
I think ODM is taking Matungu, but it's too early to say.
Why do you think ODM will take it?
I think it's been very closely contested, and the ODM put in a lot in this by-election. On top of the fact that David Were is a veteran, he's been MP there for 15 years, so he has got existing networks. 2, and more importantly, the person who calls the shots in Kakamega is Governor Paranya. And as far as I can tell, the actions that they have undertaken to ensure that they retake this seat are so extensive, you know, even though ANC
Heavy
has also tried, I just think that this seat is going to.
I think David.
ODM.
I think David is
the other
conflicted.
factors which
David is conflicted because his presidential candidate is vying against Mudavadi for the Luhya vote. He would not want to imagine a situation where ANC then somehow is coming up again.
But the facts are that will be the facts eventually. We'll know how
we
it
will see
happens.
it's a close.
Yeah.
Matungu is a close election. I still think ANC has a pretty good chance. I mean, we saw the war, the sibling rivalry, so to speak, between ODM and ANC today. I mean, Malala made claims against Gladys Wanga, ODM people made claims against Malala, and yet literally children of the same mother. It's a high-stakes political game, especially in that part of Western, because, you know, Kakamega has been a Raila, literally a Raila bedroom, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, the whole of that area, even Mudavadi's governor is ODM. It's been quite significantly.
So Mudavadi
ODM,
then is seeking to install himself as that more, that legitimacy of this is my turf.
Yes, this one was not David Were and Nabalongo. Yeah, this was Raila and ANC and Mudavadi trying to square it out. Whoever comes out on top, I'm still thinking it's a by-election, voter turnout, a lot of other factors coming in. It doesn't say much, but whoever gets out of this ahead has bragging rights, and then can then now claim, especially if it's NC, Mudavadi can then now claim that he's got sorted, he put his house in order, sorted out his internal issues, and then he can now go campaign in Meru and everywhere else, because obviously
and leave the local politics.
And leave the local politics sorted out. Yeah, so I mean.
But as you said, it's just a by-election, so how will that be, pretty much saying
it's
legitimately?
18 months. It's 18 months to elections.
Yeah.
And a lot of this time is going to be occupied with BBI for another 4, 5, 6 months.
Okay.
And after that, so basically, what you're looking at is, and especially for the guys at the top, Raila, Ruto, Mudavadi, it's a battle of attrition. Like, who is going to be left behind at the end of?
Yeah.
I think Makodingo is being too optimistic. I mean, Madividi, as we call him, needs first to win Matungu, and then now use that as a launching pad to take Western.
Isn't that what I said?
No, you said that and then go to other parts of the country. How will he go when he has not got his bedroom in order in the first place? So
he's given up on the marriage.
In fact, this should be the first indicator that he can actually have a toehold on Western.
Yeah.
Because as Makodingo agrees, it's really basically been a Raila backyard, because Western has principally supported Raila. But, the incoming of William Ruto has destroyed a little bit of that support. And if you rank who in the pecking order of Western, right now we would say Raila still has the higher number, followed by William Ruto, and then Mudavadi. So he still has a lot to do to come up there in terms of that formation. And that's not to talk about the entry of Dr. Mombasa Kitui, which is going to be a completely new ballgame. We can discuss that in 2 months.
And you laugh when you hear that?
Please, in 2 months, invite us back. We talk about Dr. Mombasa Kitui's candidacy.
All right, we are taking a short break here on Crossfire. Thank you for staying with us. Keep your views coming. You can tweet me at Sophia Wanuna. We'll be right back with an update as well, hopefully from the 3 locations that we are monitoring this evening.